March 2022 City of Columbia Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Welcome to members, staff, and guests. We ask for your patience during this hybrid meeting. Multiple staff members are behind the scenes to make sure all applicants and citizens are able to communicate with the board at the appropriate times.
And the public is able to participate in person or via the following options. The meeting can be streamed at youtube.com or at publicinput.com. You can submit letters and comments via email leading up to and during the meeting at cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov, or you can call in via phone. You would dial 1-855-925-2801. When prompted, please enter the meeting code 2826. Press star 1 to listen, star 2 to leave a voicemail to be read into the record, or star 3 to be placed into a queue to speak live when prompted. Please wait until your case is called to hit star 3. If participating by phone while also streaming the meeting on your computer, please mute the audio on your computer and only use phone audio so as to avoid issues when being patched into the Zoom meeting to speak. There's a large audio delay between Zoom and the live recording on City TV and publicinput.com. We will be pausing at certain times to allow the audio to catch up and give citizens time to submit any comments. Now we'll proceed to the roll call. Mr. Dinkins?
Here.
Mr. Gregory? Here. Mr. Primus?
Here.
Ms. Fenner?
Here.
Mr. Ginyard is absent. Ms. McIntosh?
Here.
And Mr. Duvall is also absent as well.
All right, applicants with requests before the Board of Zoning Appeals are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the Board of Zoning Appeals or staff regarding the request. Any member of the general public may address the board in intervals of 3 minutes or 5 minutes if by a spokesperson for an established body or for a group of 3 or more. The applicant will then have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The board reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis. Okay, those of you who plan to speak must be sworn. If you are here as an applicant or here to speak on any case, please stand at this time and raise your right hand. Okay, do you affirm or attest that the testimony you will give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda. I do want to remind board members to please speak into the mics clearly when you're speaking, or especially on the votes, making your vote. Please speak into the mic. And onto the consent agenda. The board uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. If a member of the board or the general public wishes to discuss an item on the consent agenda, that item is removed and placed on the regular agenda. The board then approves the remaining consent agenda items. The first item on the consent agenda is approval of minutes from the January 6th, 2022 meeting, because we did not have a meeting in February, just to remind everyone. The next item on the consent agenda is 2022-0010-B, 214 Sloan Street. This is a variance to the maximum fence height requirement in the rear yard. Does anyone wish to speak on a case or remove the case from the consent agenda prior to the board vote? And at this time, we'll also pause to give time for the audio to catch up. We don't have anyone who wishes to speak on this case.
Okay, let's get a motion then for the consent agenda, please.
I move that we approve the consent agenda subject to staff comments.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Moving on to the regular agenda. Use the following outline for regular agenda items. Staff will introduce the case. The applicant will then have 10
Excuse me.
minutes.
Excuse me.
Sorry,
I'm having some trouble with my iPad.
with the iPad?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if we can get someone.
We can move down to share.
this one?
Sure.
Yeah.
We have the technology.
I just stole that one.
Thank you.
Okay. So staff will introduce the case. Applicant will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. The board can ask questions. Public will be allowed to participate via email, voicemail, or phone comment. Applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal, and the board will take action. First case on the regular agenda is 2022-001-V, 317 Watery Avenue, the variance to the side yard setback for an addition to a single-family residence. And the applicant is here and can speak.
Okay, thank you. Okay, would the applicant like to approach, please? All right. State your name for the record, please.
My name is Susan Hillsman, and you want me just to explain what we're doing?
Let's start with a brief overview of what you'd like to do.
Okay. So the house at 317 Watery, just for background, was originally built in 1922, and the distance from the existing side of the house to the property line is 2.8 feet. The variance is requested for repairing and replacing an existing deck that is pretty much rotten, and it would follow the new structure would follow the same line as the existing structure. We would not be getting any closer to the property line than the house and the existing deck. There is a screen porch with a roof that is included in the proposed design. And the roof line of the screen porch would be contiguous with this roof line of the existing side deck. And it should be minimally visible from the street due to some large bushes on the side of the house that don't give you a straight view. And the goal is to preserve the architectural integrity of the home. And as you can see on these design renderings, we are trying to conserve and preserve the magnolia tree that's in the back of the house, as well as the other trees. And so therefore, the proposed structure assumes that shape.
Okay. So the footprint of the proposed structure, it would be increased from the current situation, or no?
No, it's
Okay.
the exact
So it's
same.
the same footprint, just
Right.
replacing? Okay.
It may be difficult to tell, but on
It
the
is.
photographs in the center bottom that is a wooden deck, and then the magnolia tree that is on the right-hand side of that photograph is surrounded by a brick deck. And so the replacement would be a wooden deck for that area, but nothing greater than is what is currently there.
There was a site plan as part of the proposal that might help. There was earlier.
I thought so too. Oh, well. But basically what you're doing, from what I can see, is you're building a screen porch straight out from the back of that sunroom sort of thing on the side.
That's correct.
And you're going to extend the roof. You're not, I mean, the artwork is a little confusing in terms of, you're not adding anything more on the back line, which isn't relevant to us really anyway.
That's
'cause it-
correct.
okay.
I think it did extend the footprint of the porch a little. That's why I asked about the site plan, but again, your neighbor's driveway is the adjacent, like, there's not a house on the other side of the property line, is that correct?
Yes, and we've talked to them. This will most definitely be an improvement from what is existing. And let's see, on that aerial shot, that house is not there, 1 Myrtle Court. It's an old house. I'm not sure why that doesn't show up. Now, it does on the back. If you look at the green pin in the middle of this photograph, if you go to the left, because we're looking at the back of the house, that is 1 Myrtle Court, and the street changes names from Myrtle Court to Wateree, from their house to our house, right in between.
And they don't have a problem with it, is what you said.
They're thrilled.
Just from our perspective is when we were looking at setbacks, that you're not increasing the
We're not.
coverage. And
No,
so-
we're not.
Well, I don't have any other questions. Any other board members have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think we'll move into public input portion of the presentation. Are there any members of the public here who would like to speak on this matter? Okay, let's check and see if we've got any online or on the phones.
We have no one, no emails.
All right. Well, so let's move into board discussion, if there is any. Who wants to start? Anybody?
Seems like an improvement to me.
I like the design with the tree in the middle. That's really, did a really good job with that. I like that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And I think the hardship here is that the lot line was so tight to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
Yeah.
But that whole area is, everything's very tight. You're
Yeah.
backing onto Wheeler Hill, which is even tighter. And it is a small lot residential, not a large lot residential like Saluda is. So it seems like all in all a plus. And it seems like it's, I mean, we're not into the design part of it, but it even looks like it's going to be architecturally appealing.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you have an existing condition that you have an applicant just trying to improve without expanding over or encroaching any more into the setback, I'm usually in favor of matters like that. So I can't think of any reason why we shouldn't be. Shouldn't let them improve their deck that looks like it is in poor condition. All right, well, if no one else wants to make a comment, I'd like to ask for a motion, please.
Motion to approve pending staff comments.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. Motion passes. Welcome.
Our house was built around a tree, but unfortunately the tree died. So getting it out, they had to get a crane down.
Let's hope that doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda is 2022-002 SE, 725 Hazelwood Avenue. This is a special exception request to permit a convenience store. And the applicant is here as well for this case.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Actually, we're
Please,
trying-
please state your name for the record.
I'm sorry, Victoria Staples.
Okay.
And we're actually trying to put a convenience store in this area. There's one that's actually on the other end of the street. In this area here, there's a lot of apartments and no way for people to get around except for to go on the highway, and a lot of people are walking. So that's basically the reason why we wanted this area for essentials for the community. Toilet paper, paper towels, cooking oil, things of that nature. And it's also myself that live in that area, as opposed to going to Walmart or going the other direction to a food line. The store itself was a propane company, but the owner tells us that it was a convenience store from the beginning, and then they changed it into a propane, for the community, for heating homes and things of that nature. So basically, we're just trying to put it back to a convenience store.
Okay. How about give us a brief rundown of store hours, numbers of employees?
It's going to be a family-owned business. The family and close friends running it, because in the area it's a big area. Basically, there's a Bojangles next door, barbershop across the street, a oil company that just came up, like changing your oil. But it's going to be for like 7 in the morning to 10 in the evening, Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, Sundays until 9.
Would you be there running the store, or would you hire
Yes,
someone?
myself and my brother-in-law. He doesn't speak very good English,
Okay.
but yes, I will be there, actually helping him, as well as my granddaughter and my grandson, just family, basically.
Okay, so on a given, just a random period of time, would we have one employee in the store typically,
Oh, no,
or
sir.
two, or?
It would be more so like 2 to 3. Someone
2 to
that's
3.
cleaning the outside of the property, indoors, someone running the register, and of course, my brother-in-law will be there.
What sorts of security measures do you have in place? I mean, you're sort of off the big highway, so I would
Yes,
be.
well, actually, there is a police that come all the time for that area, because it is such a big area, as you said. And the person cleaning, if there's someone hanging around the store, would you ask them to please leave the property? It's not a hangout or whatever. And, and if that doesn't work, then we'll have to result in calling the police. But other than that, they do patrol the area very often.
Are there any residential, how close are you to
Yes,
other?
the residential is actually diagonal across the street. And then also down further, maybe about, I'd say maybe a 10 or 15-minute walk, is apartment complexes. So it's needed in the area, actually.
But you're not really right next, butting onto anything?
No, ma'am, not
Okay.
at all.
Are you familiar with the Good Neighbor Plan?
No, sir, I'm not.
Isn't that part of the,
Yeah, it should have
Criteria.
been in the packet. There are criteria in the new Unified Development Ordinance, so those should have been included. They were provided to us with the application.
can we turn to those sections of the application so we can all take a look at some of that stuff?
All right. The name of the store that we were going to put is 5 Star Mini Mart. The zoning, Article 3, the use of the convenience store complied with the general standards of all accessing uses and structures. Five-star mini mart, for Article 4, the convenience store complies with all rules and regulations listed in Article 4. Number 3, five-star mini mart will approve vehicular traffic and safety by allowing an open flow access to the parking lot, as well as having access to a side street from the side parking lot. That makes sense to me.
Can I have a question about, what is the side street? I don't see a side street. You're on Hazelwood, right?
Yeah, there's actually no side street. There is like where they were selling the propane, they had the real huge containers, which it's closed off now because there is none. The owner did that. So there's no.
So your only ingress and egress is on Hazelwood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's not accurate then.
Correct. That is not accurate.
Is there any way we can see the responses? Because I know they were in our packet and I looked at them. We don't have that on our iPad.
To see what?
The actual responses, I mean, I saw them in the packet and I didn't print them out.
I'd like to see those as well.
I can bring that up for you to see if you would like.
I guess what she's saying is, can we flip some of these
There's-
slides?
it's not on one of the
It- it-
slides.
oh,
It's not on the
It's not in
presentation.
there.
It's not on the
Okay, I see.
presentation.
I got
Sorry.
you.
Yeah,
I
we
thought it
can't do
was.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't do
Sorry.
that. All right, that's okay.
Understood.
Yeah,
Understood.
this is a very old picture. Next door to this, right there, is now Bojangles, in which they sold that property to Bojangles, which is what the owner told us. And on the other side used to be a bar, which is closed now. It was there for years, and they finally closed it down.
Okay, so Hope, could you refresh me and tell the board, this good neighbor plan that we always are asking questions about and we see when we have these cases,
If you're referring to the citizens around and asking if they have an objection to that?
not really. It's,
Okay.
it's something a little different. We're going to get the zoning administrator to fill us in. Give us a brief.
Who you're referring to, I don't think it's called good neighbor plan anymore in the
Okay.
ordinance, but I know what you're referring to.
Right,
The,
it's-
litter
that-
control and all of the
And that's
conditions.
a key part of
Yeah,
these
yeah.
types of discussions.
And it is part of the application, yeah. She was just on the wrong, she was going through the criteria, but she can read through this
Right.
as well.
All right, so who prepared these answers?
His wife, my sister.
Okay.
And she works for the airlines, and she's out of town.
Okay,
So that's why I'm here.
understood.
Special exemption permit for lottery control program. Will enforce a lottery control program, which it will include having signs that show that the lottery is completely prohibited. These signs will be placed in and around the property. Litter control program will ensure that a list of 2 receptacles are provided on site for customer use, and written verification to provide that the owner of the 5-star mini mart will conduct daily litter pickup, as well as litter pickup among sidewalks adjacent to the store. Sign pledge program. 5-star mini mart will be responsible for complying with the regulations regarding signage for the property and will make sure that signage is included in the total display surface area permitted. We will comply with the standards for signs as stated in section 17.5.10 for signs by using and maintaining signs as a mean of communication to maintain and enhance the aesthetic environment, encourage economic development and growth, improve traffic safety, minimize the adverse effects of signs on nearby public and private properties, establish a fair and predictable base for enforcement, crime prevention and awareness program. Five Star Mini Mart will be participating in a crime prevention and awareness program provided in the city of Columbia, as well as work closely with the crime prevention unit to ensure that everything is made.
All right, so do you have any cameras planned on the outside?
I'm sorry.
Are there going to be any security cameras?
There's cameras outside and inside, and in the back of the store,
That's good. That's good.
of the building.
I got a question. I'm looking at y'all's application now, and value of project $50,000. Can you, it says just value of project $50,000. Can you just elaborate on what y'all are planning to do to improve the property? Like, where is that money going?
Well, actually, the $50,000 was given, that was from the owners of the property to change the building back to a convenience store, for a bathroom, a back door, which they did not have. So there's a steel door that was placed there, beer cases and soda cases, like a 10-door refrigeration unit. Also, just those kind of things. The lighting of the facility, that's basically where that money's gone.
Okay. That's the owner's money? They're
That's
the
the
ones
owner's
putting that?
money.
So
Yes,
they're
sir.
adding like an egress on the back that was not there before?
They changed the build. The building was one way, but they put the money into the store to change it to a convenience store.
Okay.
Look for
So
a
there's
convenience
no
store.
change, there's not going to be a back way in and out, is that correct?
There is a back way in
There is
and
going to
out.
be a back way in.
There is. That is there.
Oh, I see, okay.
So is that for employees, or what's the purpose of that?
I'm sorry.
Would that be for employees to come, or patrons, or what's the purpose of the back entrance?
Well, the back door? Well, the purpose for employees, actually.
Wait, I think we're talking two different things. You're talking about I think what we're asking about is a driveway out of the back of the property,
Right,
not a
yes.
back door.
Yes.
Yes, there's a back door too, but.
Yes, right on the side of there, you can go to the back of the building to park your vehicles. And that way, the employees can come that way. And also to leave parking availability for the front of the store.
But is there a way to get out to that
Oh,
back?
no, sir, no, ma'am,
that's-
not at all, no.
So the only way you can get in and on and off the property is through Hazelwood?
Right.
Okay.
My question was more like the $50,000, where's that money going? And I would think this building would have multiple doors to get in and out of the building, correct?
No, sir. They redid the roof.
So there's just one door to get in and out, the front door?
There's a door in the front. There's, like a double door in the front of the building.
Yeah.
And the door in the back of the building.
Yeah. That's for safety, like, you gotta have.
Just
yeah.
building.
Yeah,
that's
that
kinda
would be
outside
code,
of
yeah.
our-
I think so.
That's code. But that's all you've got. And you said they're adding a bathroom.
The bathroom's there.
Bathroom's there, okay.
As I said, they used to sell propane for heating as well as for, people that use for, I guess, grills and stuff of that nature. So they just, made it look more like a convenience store as opposed to a.
Are they going to be putting plate glass windows or something on the front there?
Yes,
or-
actually, my son works for a glass company, and they're wanting to put the glass window, the plexiglass or whatever it is with the bars, he said had to be gone on the front of the building for our safety as well as other people. And then also a glass, I don't know what it is, but he said that it's like all the way around, like for the register area and all that for our safety is,
Although if nobody can see in, yeah.
I'm sorry?
I'm a little concerned if you can't see in very easily, that's not much protection, if the cops can't see in
But I think
easily.
there is glass on the front of the building.
Not much.
No, the glass, there's a glass all the way across. We're just talking about enforcing it.
So has anyone drawn any plans or renderings or anything of what you're going to do? I think it'd be helpful to the board if we could see what
Excuse me.
the goal is, the end goal, what this was actually going to look like.
Do you have
I mean, I don't
pictures?
really have a good idea what,
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this picture and it doesn't look,
has anyone drawn any plans or anything?
Can you bring them up, please?
I mean, our concerns are buffer zones, like, our purview is not if we like the design of the store.
no, but I'm concerned about safety issues and whether this becomes a place that might be caused.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't have a real good feel for what it's going to look like when it's improved. Yeah, I realize, I'm not trying to pick apart
Right.
the dwelling.
I mean, it's
or-
on the application, so I'm just asking.
It is an application?
Yeah, $50,000, just,
Oh, yeah, but is there a site plan or anything?
no.
No, I'm concerned about the safety issues. And
All right, well,
that this doesn't become a
hang on,
problem.
let's don't get, we really shouldn't get into
Right.
let's don't get into any board discussion here.
He's got a couple of pictures of the outside.
Hope, did you see any kind of site plan or anything like that?
No,
Even a street level view,
yeah.
you know, what it looks like from the street, just looking at,
Yeah,
standing on.
he does have a.
He's got
picture
that?
of
Okay, that'd be good. I suppose I could pull it up on Google or something, but.
There's no lack of egress and ingress, there's free for all. For better or worse.
So they did pull a permit already for the interior renovations of this, for the site, and so we have the contract value and everything on that, and
Okay.
it didn't trigger landscaping or anything like that, improvements to the site.
Got you, understood.
I think ultimately, our job is to make sure that this isn't blight on the community. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, kind of a street view. Kind of looking on it, at Google Earth, it looks kind of the same.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it does have, I can see that it has windows in the front, yeah. In the picture, it looks like it's just got little slits.
Oh,
The way-
okay. Oh, I see at the top.
You see what I'm
Yes.
talking about there? Yeah.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
And so there are not really any planned improvements to the exterior of the building, then, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am, I'm sorry. Yes, sir, there is.
There are.
Yeah, just actually, it doesn't look like that now. It's very nice. The front of the building, the building is really nice. They really did a lot of work prior to us coming to there.
It's got windows.
I mean, it just, all of that is like expanded, where you have parking, where that white truck is parking over there. And then it's gated off. The whole thing is gated off.
Oh, the back is
The
gated?
back is gated off.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, good.
Oh,
Yes.
that kind of controls something.
That controls a lot.
Yes, it's like, there's no easy access to that.
So, okay, so again, did anyone draw that on any sort of a plan or a diagram?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I truly do not know.
Gotcha.
That would have been something that the owners did.
Because those details are helpful and important, but we didn't know it until we just asked the question.
We table until we get a better,
Well, let's,
that something we
let's
can
hang
do?
on, we talk about it.
is that something we can do if you wanted to? Okay. Not table it, that's kill it, but I mean, just.
Actually, he just had pictures of the inside of the
Right.
building and the front
Okay.
of the building.
All right, well, let's move this along. All right, do any, I think we got a good idea of what you're trying to do. Do any of our,
I got one more question.
well, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, y'all would be the only tenant on the property, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Cool.
All right, thank you for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, would any other members of the public like to speak on this matter? Okay, well, I don't see any. Do we have any callers? Or text messages or emails or?
It's just hilarious. It just sounds like we're on a game show. Dial-up.
Okay, no emails, no callers.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we'll move into board discussion, and let's talk about this a little bit. I'll just start briefly and then let all y'all talk. I don't know if the applicant testified that the responses were written by someone else. So I'm not sure that she was the best one to be, the applicant today was the best one to be presenting this case in front of us to begin with. I'm concerned that this, and I know it used to be called the Good Neighbor Plan, hope so we don't call it that anymore. But I'm concerned when we have an applicant for a convenience store who doesn't know what that is. That's a key point in our discussions here when we're looking at these convenience stores for safety, and that's a key point. So I'm concerned about a couple of those matters. And I'll just start with that and see what you all think. That's in no way an endorsement for my, vote against or for it. I have some concerns.
I think for me, high level, I don't have an issue with the request, but I just would like to see, you mentioned they did pull a permit, Hope? They did pull a permit?
Yes,
So that means they any improvements got to be to code, correct?
yes, that's correct.
And to get a CO, they'll have a final building inspection and all that.
We can check really quick. Okay. The permit was issued, so yes.
Okay, so that makes me feel better that a building inspector's going to go through there and inspect what they're doing. So it is a little concerning. I'm looking at the application, it's a loitering control program, a litter control program, a crime prevention and awareness program, and a neighborhood communication program.
Those are the key things, or some very important parts I think we need to be thinking about when we're approving or denying a request like this, because that gets straight to public safety.
When I'm hearing that it's being run by the family, which is wonderful, but that's not something that would be required, in the thing. So we don't know who would ever ultimately be running it or what would be going on there. I'm very concerned that we're not approving something that would become a blight on the area. On the other hand, it sounds when they're talking like this is going to be something that people would really benefit from and not have to take their lives into their hands crossing Garner's Ferry and stuff like that. So, and I don't want to add, this is a small project. It's not the kind of project like the one, where you've got lots of money going around like that. I think this is a pretty shoestring project. But then once it's approved, it's approved. So,
Yeah, and back to those programs, there's things in here they have to do. So,
Right, that are part of the code.
yeah, the operator provides a written verification. They will comply with the standards and section. So I guess they'll have to do that before they get their approval to open for business.
Yeah, they have to meet all the conditions of the convenience
Yeah.
store that are in the code.
Neighborhood communication program, the operator has provided written verification. They will provide local contact information to the adjoining neighborhood association or business for the documentation of any problems they may have with current business practices that impact adjacent neighborhoods or businesses. So there's I think there's things out there that would mitigate some of the concern, but you guys, the operators, just need to be aware of them. And I guess they work through staff on that kind of stuff to help make sure they're doing that. So.
All right, so then, do they meet, I guess, asking board, do you all think they meet the criteria for the special exception? Can we meet them, or do they not?
We can go through it.
And we don't have to go through all of them, just any, I guess, hopefully we've been through them, but.
I think they kind of do. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that they do. I think it's subject to staff comments, subject to staff approval of the final project, all that sort of stuff. Subject to staff final approval. In terms of the big picture, I mean, it's a low-budget project. They're not going to have a pretty site plan for us and stuff. I mean, then that's fine.
That's a good point.
And if it's not triggering any of the landscaping from the site improvements?
No.
then that's-
It doesn't seem out of keeping with the area.
yeah. It's a commercial area.
Yeah.
There's plenty of site access.
I mean, it fits nicely.
Yeah.
Definitely fits the area.
I move that we approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Good luck with it.
Thank y'all.
Oh, subject to staff comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Moving on to the next case, 2022-0009 SE. It's 4505, 4515 Clemson Avenue, and 1600, 1612, and 1620 Brennan. It's a special exception request to expand a major utility facility. And the applicant is here to speak on the case.
Good afternoon. My name's William Lamb. I'm with Thomas & Hutton. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Dominion Energy. And as you can see from the application, the project is, the application is for a special exception for 3 residential properties. And were you able to get the site plans loaded? Okay. I can pass these around perhaps. We do have some surveys and site plans that I don't think made it under the presentation. But as I mentioned, the existing parcels are zoned RM1, and my understanding based on the zoning code would be that a major utility would be approved use under a special exception. Dominion has an existing substation, and I think once you see the site plans, it'll make a bit more sense. But they do have an existing substation you can see in the 2 northern parcels. That substation currently has an existing wooden privacy fence that goes around it. And so the 3 residential lots that we're looking at on the southeast and southern portions of the project along Brennan and Trentham, those houses were actually flooded in 2015 because Penn Branch is just to the south of there. And then my understanding is that those houses have been vacant since then, and Dominion has since acquired those properties. And so the purpose of the project is really twofold. One of the existing transformers in that substation has basically reached the end of its service life, and so they have some work they need to do to basically replace that transformer and install something that's more modern and consistent with the current electrical requirements. And then also there's an existing transmission line that runs kind of along the western fence line along the existing substation that is really, really close to the transformers and doesn't meet the current electrical code. So ideally, they would need more space to separate those power lines away from transformers, so that when they're in there doing work on the substation, and whether it's replacement of the existing transformer or just general maintenance work, they have a bigger safety buffer, because a lot of that, with high voltage wires and stuff, you've got a lot of safety concerns. Also, in the northwestern corner of the property now, or the existing substation, during larger storms, they tend to see some ponding. That substation.
I'm sorry, some what?
Stormwater ponding. Like
Ponding?
Yeah, water.
Okay,
So-
just couldn't quite make out what the word was.
Oh, yeah, sorry, these maps.
It's okay, no, it's okay, just,
So, the drainage is poor in that part of the substation, and so part of this project would be to install a stormwater swale along Brennan that would catch that runoff and bring it around to a proposed stormwater facility. It could be a pond or a bioretention cell or something on the most southern property, and I think it'll make more sense when you look at the site plan. And so in order to do that, they would basically need to expand the existing gravel pad and privacy fence and everything to the west. And so basically they would demolish those 3 homes and expand the gravel pad to the west to give them more space inside the substation, mainly for safety, and then route the stormwater runoff around the west side and down to a stormwater facility on the southern portion of the site. The project, we would plan to combine the 5 lots into one to help with any setback issues. The site plan we've put together, I believe, is consistent with all of the setback requirements and everything. And also our application does address the 13 criteria for the special exception, if you had a chance to read through that.
I think the presentation is very good, and I think the criteria were addressed very well in the application. I read them before I came carefully. Will, one thing that it did mention was you would provide some off-street parking. Where is that? I don't see that on the plan.
It's kind of hard to see on the aerial, but there is an existing entrance into the substation off of Clemson Road, kind of on the southern portion of that substation. So there's a double swing open gate.
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
And they wouldn't need any more driveways or access than what's already there. That would just expand the substation to the west.
So it would just be pulling up into an unmarked gravel lot, basically.
Right.
Just in front of those structures.
That's right. And the 3 residential houses, as I mentioned, have been, my understanding is vacant since 2015, so they're somewhat in disrepair. You know, the project would include a wooden privacy fence to match what's around the existing substation and some, evergreen trees to provide some screening along Brennan to make it as attractive as possible from the street view.
That storm pond is interesting. So you wouldn't have to do that for a pre versus post situation, would you here? You're not expanding enough impervious area, are you?
Well, probably not, but it just seems like a good opportunity for some stormwater management. There is a existing catch basin on the corner of Brennan and Trenum that would provide an ideal outfall location. And I think, just combined with the existing, now granted it's upstream, and so just providing positive drainage away from the substation should alleviate the existing drainage issues that are there now, but it is a good opportunity to put in a stormwater practice just in terms of being a good citizen.
See, yeah, not to get into board discussion matters, but I think that's really good. See, basically what he's saying is that they're not adding so much impervious area that he would really need to put this storm pond in, but they're doing it to sort of help the drainage in the area. So that's very good.
Are you?
Very good.
When I look at it, I immediately think, oh, it'll be a lovely little water feature. Are you planning for that to actually be kept in a somewhat attractive fashion and not in some kind of?
Well, given that, there's existing houses there that would be removed, those are impervious, we'd be adding some gravel pad on the northern 2 lots to the west. So, I think the actual stormwater management requirements, may not be significant, but I think especially with the frontage along Trenum Road, it's an opportunity to do something and it would look nice. And, we'll have to get into the engineering design to determine what exactly it looks like, but I think it's definitely an opportunity to make something that looks decent.
It would have to be maintained, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I don't think, Catherine, I don't think it would have water in it most of the time, obviously, because it'd be a detention pond. So it would be almost think a nice and maintained little swale.
And being so close to Trenum Road and everything, I think it would have to be somewhat shallow, so it wasn't a safety concern or anything like that. But, there's some existing pine trees along Trenum Road now, so it does have a little bit of buffer already, but, we certainly don't want it to be a hazard in any way.
Okay. Well, very good. I don't have any questions. Do any of the board members have any questions?
On the site plan, there was noted a gate on what should be the west side, or gate TBD? Because that's what some of our questions were, sort of access to the site. And so was there a second entrance planned or a second entrance
Not to
considered?
my knowledge, I
or-
believe the only entrance was on Clemson Road, the existing entrance into the substation.
Yeah, the existing wood fence.
See where it says gate over on the west side?
Says proposed grate inlet. That might have been what you saw.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's not what, like on the rendered site
Yeah,
plan?
I'm sorry, you
Here.
thought it said inlet. She's wondering if there's any other ingress, egress to the
No, I
site,
didn't, I
not
didn't see it.
not an
It
inlet.
was on
So
the
I don't think
rendered-
any additional driveways
It
would
was
be
on the rendered
necessary,
site plan.
compared,
The
based
note
off
that
with
said gate.
what they've already got.
I just want to make sure that we're not.
Is there a, are y'all planning to put a fence around the entire property? Or some sort of fence?
Just the substation part of it.
Gravel
The
drive.
portion along, basically that southern residential lot would be unfenced, provided that, the stormwater practice there was not a hazard of any sort.
I mean, I'm just, you know it better than I do, but there's a lot of kids, I mean, in this area, and I'm just a little concerned about a pond without a, stormwater pond without a, I don't know, a fence.
I mean, really, think
Right there.
grass depression, basically. It's not really,
Yeah,
correct me
I
if I'm
think,
wrong, but it's not really a pond in traditional.
I think we could make something that was shallow enough where, it wouldn't be a hazard for neighborhood children
Yeah.
and still have some
weather.
storage in it.
And this would have to go through land disturbance permitting as well,
Yeah.
just as a reminder.
And there's a lot of, existing, just, utility services and stuff to those houses that would have to be demolished, and we'd have to, we'd preserve as many trees as we could, but I think, some regrading of those 3 lots is gonna be necessary to make everything drain properly and get it, properly, just for ideal drainage and get everything working functionally.
Will there be more transfer lines going in or out with the increase?
No, there's really no, my understanding is there's really no increase in, electrical capacity to the area. It's mainly just to get the existing substation, get that transformer replaced and bring it up to current safety codes so that you've got sufficient space between power lines and transformers, and so people that are operating switches and stuff aren't standing in water and having
Okay,
a
that was my
safety risk.
understanding, that was to increase capacity, so.
No, it's mainly just a refit of what's there.
And in the application, I noticed that y'all, applicant proposes to provide adequate screening to improve the visual aesthetics of the area. I guess how set in stone is this layout from January? Because I see on here y'all have proposed evergreen. I mean, that would be good if all that landscape and trees, if they were installed.
I mean, that's our conceptual plan right now, so unless something dictates otherwise, that's where we would begin our site plan.
Okay. I mean, you just can't see it right now from Trenton. You demo all those houses, I mean, you're going to see right into that substation.
And it
Right.
is kind of unattractive when you drive down
Yeah,
Clemson.
I mean,
Yeah.
so, I mean, as long as I think this screening is good, so as long as we do that, should be good.
And it's thoughtful, like if you look on the Google Earth now, there are the arborvitae, I guess, that have been there since '94, and a lot of them are cut in half, as trees
Yeah.
tend to be.
All right, do we have any more questions for the applicant? All good? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else here who would like to speak on behalf of this matter? Any callers? Okay.
No emails, no callers.
All right. Well, then we'll start for discussion. This is a heavily traveled, popular area of the city, and I noticed the posted signs cutting through there a long time ago. Y'all have had it posted, must have posted it, it's been posted for a while. So if we had any neighbor issues, we would hear in this area, right here off Trenton Road. So clearly the neighborhood's okay with it. I mean, these things are kind of a necessary evil, right? I mean, you have to have these throughout the city, I mean, to have power, so.
But I think they can be treated thoughtfully, and I think that one of my major concerns
Yeah.
was, you know, the character of it.
The
What is it
aesthetics,
from
yeah.
Trentham Road? How is it a neighbor, you know, on this, the little cul-de-sac?
Sure.
You know,
Sure, if you live right beside it. So, I mean, piggybacking off what you said, I think they've done about as good with it as you possibly could.
I guess I'd like to, I mean, I guess we can't require them, but it sure would be nice if they would enhance those trees, existing trees along Clemson. It really is ugly when you drive alongside it.
Well,
It kind of stands out to you, but
I don't,
I don't think we can ask them
I
to do
don't think they're
that.
gonna do that. You know.
No, I mean, this is Dominion, how much money,
Give it-
they got trees.
Give it 10 years.
They got trees.
15 years. Well, I don't know, you know.
Can we put something in the approval that, you know, just makes the adequate landscaping, just really hammer it on there, or?
it's
Hope-
possible. I would-
I mean, you can put conditions, if you voted to approve, you could put a condition on it. It's not tied to a specific site plan, and there's been no site plan approval, you know, to date. So it's, the special exception is for the use, but, I mean, you could put a condition on landscaping or however you,
Yeah,
want
and I'm
to
not asking them to
word
do
that.
anything out of the ordinary, but just to really just reinforce it.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, think who we're dealing with. Tremendous, huge company here who has a stake in the community, who's, you know, I can't imagine them not making it.
I would say if
I
you
don't
do
know,
that
after
to
they-
make it,
After they completely butchered their contractor butchered the
com-
red bud tree in my front yard because
I
it was
don't know. I mean-
overhanging on a guy wire, really? But
Well-
yeah, okay.
well-
I guess what I would like to see is some sort of mandated consultation with forestry and beautification or something like that, and I'm not even sure how to do that.
Well, I'm
Or
certainly not.
even in terms of the setback from Trentham, you know, like, that kind of helps
Okay.
too, is, because, no offense to, you know, that if there's no site plan approved, then you just meet the minimum setback, and it really
Okay.
changes the character.
All right.
I mean, it
Yeah,
will go through site plan approval and land disturbance
Mm-hmm.
approval and all of that at some point. So I will say, if you decide to put conditions on it, keep in mind it would need to be pretty specific and enforceable by staff when they're reviewing the plans, so just keep that in mind.
What is the required setback off of Trentham Road, do we know?
Off of
Off of Trentham?
Trentham. Well, for a building setback, give us 1 second.
Sorry. Fence 5 feet off of Trentham is a lot different than
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Stand up here,
So the setbacks, of course, are going to be for a structure
sure.
and there's no
or
structure.
a building. We'll say a building.
So there's no structure.
Well, it sounds like we
Right.
still have just a couple questions. Will, please approach and fill us back in. No, thank you, this is helpful.
Sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to respond to the setback comment. I guess one, you know, that basically that entire southern lot off of Trentham would essentially be a green setback. There's no proposed fencing or buildings or gravel pad on that whole lot, so that would be a pretty generous setback. And then I also want to mention if, you know, if there's something with the plantings that you'd like to see different, you know, we can certainly change what types of plants we put out there or density or whatnot, but I think the site layout offers a lot of opportunity to have a nice, you know, to meet the needs of the substation and also make something that looks attractive from all directions.
I think that's, my concern is that, like, I feel so much better about it after seeing the site plan. It alleviated a lot of concerns, and I think just the thought is how we capture the things that are right about the site plan, that there's not, once it's all one property, you know, things change a little bit too, to make sure that there's no bait and switch, or that the needs of the project don't change and that there's nothing to,
And this project will have to go through full city review for zoning and landscape and everything as well, so they'll have that opportunity too.
What is the landscape review?
When is the landscape review?
No, what is it?
What is it?
What would that constitute?
So the landscaping part of our ordinance, I mean, it addresses street protective yards, buffers, which I think the buffers were addressed in the application, so you probably saw that.
They were.
If there's a parking lot, the interior parking lot landscaping, things of that nature. So that's just
But for
kind of
this
a rundown.
project, what would that actually have to be? What would be the mandated?
So mainly buffers, depending on the adjacent property, zoning and use, and street protective yard.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah, the buffer is not I'm just going back to the screening. I view them as two different things. You got a buffer, which is a distance, it's gotta be away, then you got screening, which visually blocks you
Yeah.
from seeing it. So my focus is on the screening, and I guess they have proposed evergreen trees. I don't know if the landscape ordinance, this is, forgive my ignorance, but for a utility, if there's special landscaping requirements for a more intensive use such as this with residential around, are there more intensive screening requirements?
Not for this specific use. It's broken down into categories, but I believe a type D was required in this one against adjacent parcels. But the buffer does actually require like vegetation and screening. So it's not just a distance away, so it does require vegetative material.
I mean, could this be a specific request? They have proposed evergreen trees. Can we hold them to make sure they plant evergreen and not deciduous?
I mean, the board can put whatever conditions that you would like to.
I mean, is that specific enough?
Go for it.
It's,
I would
Do
just
you want
state,
of a
be
general
very
certain-
specific with the location on the plan of where those need to be
I mean,
planted.
how they have it is fine, on the southern side facing Trenton and on the western side, giving an evergreen buffer to those homeowners on Brennan. So that would be what I would like to see.
Is there, I don't know. I mean, this is a conceptual plan. I like your idea, and I
If
like
you
the
lived
plan.
across the street and there were
No,
deciduous trees and you saw into that.
Yeah, here's what I'm getting at. Can you craft your motion in such a way that doesn't tie them, I mean, some things might change. Can you craft your motion in such a way that accomplishes the same thing without saying you got to put this evergreen tree 30 feet back from Trenton? I mean,
Yeah, I don't think you have to do that. I'd just say it would be where they, per the landscape ordinance, because it doesn't specifically require the type of tree, you say, as long as they meet the ordinance, but plant evergreen trees.
Okay. Well,
I don't know. What do you think? I think you kind of understand what I'm asking for.
I get what you're asking for, but there's also like certain levels of specificity because an evergreen tree could be 10 feet tall or it could be 40 feet tall. You know, it could be a pine tree that has no branches until 40 feet. And then, you know, so,
Or it could be
but
a-
it's
could be
outside
a-
of our purview to say, you know, an
Right.
arborvitae that you have to plant.
red tips.
100-gallon arborvitae day one.
how
You know,
about
it's
cedar? You want
kinda-
cedar?
Yeah.
If I can interject one more
Please
time.
do. Yeah, go ahead.
I think, I believe Dominion's intent here is to provide an attractive vegetative buffer to break up that wooden fence from a visual aspect from Brennan Road especially, because that's where it's going to be closest to the edge of the road. So, you know, as far as how you require we do that, you know, that conceptual plan is our current proposal. If, you know, however y'all want to handle that is fine, but that's our intent.
I just keep going back to the idea that I'd like to have some final consultation with city people who would have some discretion, who are knowledgeable about landscaping.
Well, it will.
It will,
Well,
yeah.
yes, we do have a landscape planner. I think he's been present at some of these board meetings before, but we do have a specific landscape planner on staff, and he reviews as part of the site plan review.
And he would be doing that for this?
Yes.
Okay.
See,
it's
gonna
built
hit-
in.
It's going to
It's
hit
built
every,
in.
it's going to hit every department.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
built
the landscape
The first
ordinance is
step,
very
the-
specific, so, and he enforces that for every, you know, every site plan review.
All right, so that's built in?
It's very specific.
Yes, okay, good.
Do we have any thoughts or concerns about keeping existing fence and adding new? Is that inside or outside of our purview? Because the existing fence is pretty aged.
Upgrade the existing fence? You could have put that in, why not?
It was just a question of feels from the board, if that's
Was
necessary.
it the fence? Is that the question?
Right, there's an
Existing
existing wood fence that goes around from the existing site, and then adding,
I mean, that's code enforcement, I would think.
Yeah.
Like if it's falling down,
Good point.
I don't know. I'd like to make a motion if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I am gonna say something about the evergreens, and I'm gonna try to make it, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve this special exception request, subject to the applicant, subject to Dominion, the applicant, working in coordination with the landscape, with the staff landscape, what's his title with the landscape
Scott Holder is his name, and he's
planner,
landscape planner.
subject to coordination with the City of Columbia's landscape planner to plant evergreen trees on the southern and western side of the property.
Adequate to screen the property.
Adequate to screen the improvement to Trenham Road and Brennan. You got that? Should I try it again?
Not all of it.
I'd like to make a
Can you
motion
repeat it?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special exception request, subject to the applicant Dominion Energy working closely in coordination with the city's landscape planner, specifically to plant evergreen vegetation trees adequate to screen the improvement.
Y'all like that? Do you?
Is that okay? I'm not a wordsmith.
Yeah, I'm not good at dictating.
But that accomplishes what,
And subject to staff
does
comments.
that get everything that y'all would like them to do?
can you read it back to us? No offense. Can you read it?
We read it back to you.
David, man.
So motion to approve, subject to applicant coordination with the landscape planner to plant evergreen vegetation / trees adequate to screen, what was the last part? Adequate to screen the project?
Adequate to screen the improvement, yeah.
The improvement, okay.
From the street view,
From all
Yeah.
streets.
from all streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Add one more thing. I think, you know, if you've driven down Brennan Road recently, or even looked at it from, you know, Trenham or Clemson, you know, I think what we're proposing is going to be a pretty big visual improvement over what's there right now. Those houses have been vacated for a long time, and it doesn't look very good. So I think even with a wooden fence and some nice vegetation, and then especially on that southern parcel along Trenham, it's going to be a big visual improvement. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
And I think all we're concerned about is that there's adequate vegetation screening it.
Year round, I mean.
Year-round,
you could plant
year-round
crepe
screening.
myrtles and they're, you know, you could see through them half the year. So.
All right, well, so does that get it,
I think so.
Sue?
I think so.
Did we have a second?
Good with that? No, not yet. All right, so who is the second?
Oh, I second.
Okay, there we go. Hope's on top of it.
I'm sorry.
So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, very good. Motion passes.
I thought she was saying, give us a second.
Okay, and there's no other business on the agenda today.
Got you.
Thank you.
Nothing else? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting's adjourned.